Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Wednesday. Yeah, I think it is. Tuesday or Wednesday. Wednesday, yes. Anyway, as I promised, we're going to make French onion soup today. As you see here, I'm cooking for one, so I'm only using 2 large onions. And first thing we have to do is we have to peel them. And I want to show you how to peel and how to dice an onion. Now the first thing that I like to do is I cut a circle around my root, because I'm actually going to save that root. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to put a slice down the skin all the way to the center and take the end off. And make sure you have a really good set of knives, sharp knives. Most kitchen accidents happen simply because of dull knives that slip and don't want to cut properly. And of course your onion can get away from you if you let it. I'm trying not to let mine. These are a little juicy. There we go. Okay, one onion peeled. Do the next one. And you'll see why I do this with the end here in a few minutes. Find out where to cut. There we are. This one's going to be easier to peel than the last one. I cut the last one a little bit thin. Okay, 2 onions peeled. And I'm going to clean my board. And I'll come back to you. Okay, my board is nice and clean. I'm starting with the smaller of the 2 onions, and I want to show you how to dice an onion safely. Now, again, I've got something I can grip onto at the back here. And what I'm going to do is on the side, I'm going to flatten one side, and then about 90 degrees from it, I'm going to do the same to what I'll call the top. Okay, now I've got a couple of pieces here, put them aside. Alright, now I've got a flat surface where I can cut without worrying about it rolling and the knife getting away from me and cutting my fingers. So to begin a proper dice, the easiest way is to basically just cut straight down. Keep your fingers bent under and away from the blade. Okay. Now I can turn it to the other flat side. And now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And you notice I'm not cutting all the way through the onion. I mean to the back. This way I've got a nice working area. Okay, now that I've got that to dice my onion, turn it sideways. I'm still on the flat. Get my fingers bent under. Okay, for the few pieces that came off here, we'll just chop them up. Alright, and for our French onion soup, this is going to be perfect. We're going to cook these down pretty good. And I love my scoop. Bring our bowl over. Or my scraper. It's what I use for pizza. So that's how you dice an onion safely. Like I said, you flatten two sides of it, then make your cuts. You become accustomed to it. It's fairly easy, and like I said, it's about the safest method. If you got a few long pieces, just tear them into pieces. Okay, I put that aside. Now, we're going to slice this basically on the flat. And I'll do this for the other onions I put aside and a little bit later. Those go into my bowl. Okay. Now for this I'm going to move to a larger chef's knife. And when I hold the knife, I got one finger at the hilt, my thumb at the hilt, and then my hand, my other three fingers grip the handle. And this way it becomes an extension of your arm and your hand. And you have more control of it that way. So, flipping it over onto its flat side so it doesn't roll. And this one's going to be tough. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I cheat. So you do that for probably, well, for one person it takes 2 extra large onions. If you're going to feed a family of 6, you're going to want 6 onions minimum, extra large like this one. This one's about a 3.5, 4 inch diameter, as you can see. And I'm going to show you my other wonderful trick that I use for slicing onions. And it's something that you probably won't be able to do because not a lot of people have the gear that I have. I'll be back in a minute, reset up the camera, and show you how I do it. Okay, I've repositioned the camera, and now you can see why I say I cheat. I actually own my own small commercial meat slicer, and for doing onions, there's no easier way if you're just slicing them for onion soup. And because I'm lazy, and well, because I'm lazy, I'm going to slice them on the meat slicer, and this way I can get them nice and thin. So I just go crazy like this. I've got a piece of wax paper down on my landing shelf, and this way it takes me no time at all to get perfectly thin slices. I don't have much of a fear of cutting myself with a knife. Okay, that's it for that onion. Turn that off, and while we were away, I actually peeled another onion and set that up for slicing. And I'm going to make some extra soup. Okay, I want to flatten one side of this just like I did with the others. This way she doesn't slide in the cradle. So I flatten the side of the onion, And that goes down. And this way it won't be rolling around on me, getting all crazy. Okay, that's it for that onion. Open up my handy dandy hands-free garbage can. Uses an electronic sensor, never have to touch the lid, never have to step on anything, and keeps everything really sanitary. Alright, here's what we have. Beautiful stack of onions here. Yep, got two little pieces. There we go. Clean that up. Alright, I'm going to move those to a board, get my Dutch oven ready, and I'll show you how we start to cook this all down. Be back in a minute or two. Okay, just want to take a second. As you can see, I cleaned up the onion from the slicer, gave the slicer a thorough cleaning. This way, when I go to use it next time, I don't have to worry about it. And I want to show you this product. I'm putting it in front. It's called Greased Lightning. And I'll tell you what, this is indispensable in your kitchen. I always have it. I buy it by the gallon and refill the bottles. It's available at Home Depot. I don't get paid for this endorsement. I'm just endorsing it because this stuff works. Keeps your stove clean, your appliances clean. You got a dirty wall switch, you just spray this on and wipe it off, and I'll tell you what, it cleans like a charm, especially for oil and burn-on grease and things like that. Anyway, be right back with the Dutch oven and we'll get going from there. Okay, I'm back. I've got my 5-quart Dutch oven set up here. It's made by Lodge, and my wife got it for me a couple of years ago as a birthday present because she knew I wanted one. So what we're going to add to that, and this is even before putting it on the stove, because we don't have to worry about having the hot pot. The great thing about this was 4 tablespoons of, well, that's basically 2. Let's see, what does this say? Yeah, go a little bit more. Now we got 4 tablespoons of butter, and that's real butter because everything's better with butter. That's the phrase we use. And olive oil. We're taking olive oil, oh, probably about 3 tablespoons. Generous dollop in the bottom there. Now we'll get our diced onions in first because they'll cook down the quickest. And then I'll tell you how to get the onion smell off your hands if you've been slicing 6 or 8 onions to make a batch of this soup for your family. Okay, and here's our cheated slicer sliced onions. They'll go on top. Okay, and then I'll move the pot to the stove. The only thing I'm going to add to this is a little bit of black pepper, just a touch. As you can see, I don't go real heavy, just enough to give it a tiny bit of flavor. And we don't add salt because when we add the beef stock later, that's going to be plenty salty enough. So I'm going to put this on the stove on medium-low, and once it starts to cook down, I'll bring the camera over there and set it up and we'll show you what it looks like. But for now, basically that's all you do. Get it into a nice big stock pot, put it on medium-low, give it a couple of stirs at the beginning, and then every couple of minutes give it a stir and let it start to cook down. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, I'm back, everybody. The glass in the foreground is a rum and coke because every good chef should be drinking while cooking. Not in excess, but enjoy a good cocktail while you're doing your creative best. Alright, I'm going to start the crouton, or the fried bread, for our onion soup. Normally I'd have a French loaf here or an Italian loaf. I'd slice it on the bias about 1 inch thick, and then I save the bacon fat from every time I make bacon. And I just used an old soup can that I washed out and cleaned up and sanitized. And then I take the bacon fat and spread it on my bread that I would have sliced if it was French or Italian. These are some sub rolls I had in the freezer, so I sliced off the crust, and I'm using these instead because I don't have any French bread and I haven't been going to the store, so I'm out of luck. And I ate all the French bread that I made. So anyway, just making do with what I have. So now I've given it a liberal coating of bacon fat, and again, it's not that liberal, but it's enough to get the job done. And what I'll do is grab a piece of wax paper and put that down on my counter, and actually flip these over so that I can do the backside with the bacon grease and not make a total mess of everything. So we'll do the backside. As you can see, I'm not using a lot. I'm just basically coating it so that when it fries up nice. And another thing I wanted to mention was knives. Keep your knives sharp, and I've mentioned that before, but you don't have to buy the most expensive set of knives that are on the market if you want a good set. I think I got my knives a couple of years ago for around 80 bucks, and I've been able to keep them sharp with a good diamond sharpener. It really pays to have sharp knives. The diamond sharpener that I use is something I purchased while I was in Seattle 4 or 5 years ago, and it's still working well for me. So just remember, keep your knife sharp, you won't cut yourself. I was able to trim using this knife. It's a Master Mason, and again, I got these a couple of years ago, and these are ridiculously sharp. I've only had to sharpen them once. I will do a video on how to sharpen knives in the future, but for now I'm going to move to the stove and move the camera, and I'll show you how our onions have cooked down now and are ready for the beef broth and bouillon, and we'll get back to cooking. Alright, see you in just a bit. Okay, I think you can see in the lower right hand corner our onions have cooked down and started to brown. They're boiling beautifully in their own juices. On the top left, which is the only other burner I have that works, I preheated it to medium high, and I'm placing our bread that we're going to use with our soup and that I've basted with bacon fat in the pan. And we're going to brown that up, make it golden delicious. Okay, so we'll let that cook. Okay, now that our onions are caramelized and looking good, we need to add some beef broth. So what we're going to do is add 4 cups of beef broth, and I like the Great Value brand because unlike Progresso, it has a lot less preservatives, and if that's all, you know, whatever you got you can use, but for value, price wise, it's a lot cheaper than the Progresso. I have Progresso over here. I'm going to have to use it because I don't have enough of the Great Value on hand. That's the one thing I didn't take into consideration. So I'll use what I have in the Progresso brand, and I'm adding 4 cups total. It'll be 6 cups total by the time I'm done. Okay, might as well use the rest of it. So I've got about, oh heck, 3/4 of a cup here. Alright, I've used all the beef broth that I have, and now what I'm going to do is get 2 cups of hot water and 1/4 cup of Johnny's French dip au jus. Okay, now my mom used to use the 2 cups of water with 4 beef bouillon cubes. I kind of like the Johnny's better. First off, I don't have to worry about breaking down the bouillon cubes, and number 2, it has a little bit better flavor than the cubes. So I got 2 cups of water here, and I'll put that right there, and I'm going to add 1/4 cup of Johnny's. Okay. Do a quick rinse of my measuring cup. Get that ready for the dishwasher. And we'll add this. Okay, now we got that nice brown, wonderful color. And we'll check on our fried bread real quick. Now, as for the toppings, what I use normally is a mixture of my favorite Swiss, and I tend to shred it using my Cuisinart, which I've already done. I'll buy it normally as a block, and then use the Cuisinart to run it through the little mill there. And then Parmesan, fresh Parmesan cheese grated at about a 2/3 to 1/3 ratio. 2/3 Swiss, 1/3 of Parmesan cheese. Mix them together, and that will be your topping. Now this has to cook for about 20 minutes, so I'll be back. Our bread will be finished, it'll be nicely toasted, and we'll put that aside. and save that for when we serve. Okay, be back in about 20 minutes. See you then. Okay, we finished frying our bread. Our mixture of onions and beef broth and the Johnny's has come to a boil. I tasted it. It was lousy. So, what I had to do to bring the flavor up was add 4 tablespoons of beef base and seasoning, beef flavor. And basically it's a bouillon that's in a powder form. And it took that to bring the flavor up to where I wanted it to be. And so now that it's come to a boil, I do have to apologize. There's 1 cup of Marsala here and 1 cup of Madeira. I forgot to mention in my post yesterday on Facebook that you needed Madeira wine too. So we've got 2 cups, 1 cup of Madeira wine. It's an enhanced wine, only available at a liquor store. Same with the Madeira and the Marsala. They're both available at liquor stores. So now we're going to add that. And we will mix that together. And we'll taste it. And if it tastes good, we're going to turn the heat off. And let it rest for about 10 minutes. Yeah, that's about where it's supposed to be. That is a perfect French onion soup. Now what I've already done is I've grated about a half cup of Parmesan cheese, and to that I will now add 3/4 of a cup of my already grated Swiss cheese. Now you can use any brand, but choose your favorite. Whatever your taste buds like, choose. And what you'll do is you'll mix these together, and then what I do is I ladle the soup into a bowl like this. Got these for 20 cents at Salvation Army. And add a slice of our fried bread. I then ladle a little more soup over it. Mix the cheese, pour it on top, and you can bake it, or you can put it in the microwave to melt the cheese. And if your soup is hot enough, it will start to melt it to begin with, and then just enjoy. Okay, that's how to make the French onion soup my mom used to make. And I'll see you soon on the channel, Chef Gray Cat's Kitchen. Talk to you soon. Love you all. Bye-bye.